Hello, everybody, and welcome to How's That Working For You? I'm Bryan Robinson, and I'm the shrink.
And I'm Monica Parker, and I'm Smarty Pants.
Boy, is she ever. And just wait till the end of this episode, and you'll see why.
So the mission of every How's That Working For You is for those who it works for, that's so great. But there are so many who keep stumbling around in the dark, making the same mistakes over and over again. And for them, it's not working for them. And we hope that by listening to a few of our stories, they will find their path.
And today we have someone with a message and a story we think is going to resonate with all of you and hopefully give you some inspiration on your own path.
So, Bob, I truly don't know where to begin with you because you started, I think, barely out of the womb. I mean, you've been... You came out singing, playing, and doing. So, I mean, did you not start your sort of career at 8 years old?
Yes, actually, I did.
That's what I thought.
Well, in a strange way, maybe it started when I was one, when my parents bought me a phonograph record thingy. And that's, they used to put these like round plastic things, dark shape, and put.
Yeah, we're all the same age.
I remember those.
Just for those who may not remember. So
Yes.
I had a little record collection of little kitty records, and apparently I knew which song was which. So I would put my own record on. Somebody'd have to put the needle on it, but then I would sing along. So that was sort of the beginning of my love affair with.
At 1 year old.
Yeah, and then my grandfather was a song and dance man. He was a part-time amateur vaudevillian. So by day he was a linotype operator. By night he was a tenor and a dancer in vaudeville. And he used to teach me song and dance routines when I was like 3, 4. He passed away when I was 5. But in those couple of years, I developed a real love for performance. And then by the time I was 8, my brothers and I had jobs on television, and we were doing commercials and things like that completely by accident. I didn't have stage parents or any of that sort of thing. My brothers happened to be going to see a show, and we're in a lineup at the CBC here in Canada. And they got picked out of the lineup because they were cute. And the guy said, "They don't sing, do they?" And my dad went, 5, 6, 7, 8. My brother started singing, "I want a girl just like the girl that married dear old dad." They got hired, and then they said, "Have you got any more of those at home?" And there were 5 of us, so we all ended up working in television.
Can we give him a proper introduction?
My goodness, yes. We forgot to say you are the legendary Bob Ezrin, or Robert Ezrin, depending which you prefer. And you really have worked with every single musician on the planet. I don't think there's many you haven't worked with. Starting way back when with a great story with Alice Cooper, I think was your start. Am I right?
Yes. As a producer, that was my start. Yes.
Okay, but you were how old? 16?
No.
You were 6?
No, I was 20.
Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Much older and much more mature.
Much more mature.
And wiser, yeah.
Yes, okay, but that's a great story, and which I will piggyback onto when you tell the story of how you brought Alice Cooper into your life.
I didn't know what a record producer was. I got hired by a fellow in Canada named Jack Richardson, who was producing a group called the Guess Who, which was at the time the biggest band in the world, with a song that they had called American Woman, which went on to be, a massive hit. Yeah. So Alice Cooper's manager decided that was the sound that they needed for them to, get out of being an art band and become more mainstream. So they kind of came in to meet with my boss at the time. I had just started working for him a few months before. I was his kind of assistant bum boy, basically, and they came in with 8x10 glossies of this band with 5 creatures of indeterminate gender. They had braided mutton chops. Alice wore a dress. They had painted fingernails, and at that in 1970. that was unheard of. Nobody'd ever seen it before. Jack, who was a very conservative guy, but also a very polite Canadian, didn't say, get the fuck out of my office, but he did say, of course, well, we'll have the kid who'll go see the band. And if the kid likes the band, then I'll go see the band. And then perhaps we'll have something to talk about. Shep Gordon, the manager, left. And Jack turned to me and just went, get rid of them. And then months and months later, I got sent to New York City to go sign somebody. And oh, by the way, Alice Cooper's playing at Max's Kansas City at midnight. Go there and get rid of them. So the person I went to sign, I didn't think was any good, and I didn't. And then I went down to Max's Kansas City and walked into what was like a Hieronymus Bosch painting. I went up the front steps and into the gates of hell. And in there was just a bunch of people. They all had spider eyes. They all had jet black hair, black lipstick, black fingernail polish. They all wore spandex and they had high heels, and they fairly floated across the floor. It was like entering the land of the zombies. And I was this little hippie from Toronto. They just stuck me at a table right at the front of the stage. And the Alice Cooper group came out and did the most amazing show, they had sets and they had props and they had, and they had feather pillows and the feathers went everywhere. They blew things up. And the music was amazing. And everybody knew all the words to songs that hadn't even yet been released. So by the end of the show, I was so excited that I ran up the stairs and said to them, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll produce your record because
without asking your boss.
Yeah, like I even knew what a hit record was. And then I left there and realized how fired I was. So then I came back to Toronto just begging for my life. And I basically burst into Jack's office saying, you don't understand. This was not rock and roll. There were no t-shirts. There were no jeans. They had sets and props and lights and spandex and spider eyes. Everybody did that. They knew all the words and everybody, and I said, this is not music. It's the beginning of a cultural movement. And Jack said, okay, enough. If you like it so much, you do it.
Wow.
And then he stood by me. And he said to the record label, we'll do it. We will do it. And I'm going to involve my, my associate, Bob Ezrin. They're like, Bob who? And then he just pushed me forward and let me do the record. And I mean, we were only allowed to do 4 songs because they had no idea who I was. And they thought they were being scammed. And one of those 4 songs was I'm 18, which was his first big hit. And that launched my career.
Okay, it's a pretty amazing story. And I have a tiny little sidebar, which I think it was around that point you brought them to Varsity Arena. And you, for some reason, said to me, do you want to make $100? And do you have any friends who want to make some money? And I said, yeah, sure. I didn't ask what I had to do for the $100. And I brought along my friend, Dan Aykroyd. And we came to Varsity Arena, whereupon we were given gorilla suits and we were crowd control. That's what we got our $100 a piece for. And I can't, how many people punched us in the back and pulled at our hair to find out who we were. But I love you. And I did it anyway because I got $100.
That was big money in 1970.
That was a lot of money. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. And what did you do with it? I hope if you had invested it then, by now you wouldn't have to be doing these podcasts.
Oh, okay, that might be true. So where were you then with your smarts? Okay, so let me just go on by saying, Alice Cooper was your first, but you've worked with, it's astonishing how many people you have worked with. I from Kiss, who are your friends, as far as I know, and Pink Floyd, and doing The Wall, oh my God. Peter Gabriel. You have a story about Peter Gabriel that I think is kind of interesting. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
No.
You taped him to a chair.
Oh, I taped him to many things. It wasn't just a chair, but I did tape him to a chair. Gaffer tape was an amazing invention.
Wow.
It allowed you to do fun stuff. It wasn't just there for repairing things. So yes, we gaffer taped Peter to a rolling chair. We were working on Hazleton Avenue in Toronto, which at the time was sort of the seat of the hippest part of the city. And
right.
And then as a joke, rolled him out into the street, and thinking he would sit there, and then we'd have to go rescue him, and then we'd bring him back inside. So then, we left him out there for about 2 minutes. Then we went to get him, and he was gone. And I looked down the street, and he was like rolling himself down the road. And every once in a while, a car would stop and say, "Can we help you?" And he'd go, "No, no, no. Which way is it to Yorkville again?" And then, would take him. He rolled himself down to Yorkville and down the street. We had to run after him to get him.
I said, did people know who he was at that time?
I don't think so. No.
Oh,
No, this was during it. This was his first album outside of Genesis, and and we were just making it then. That was the album that had Salisbury Hill on it.
So, Bob, I hear you work with Taylor Swift, or you have worked with Taylor Swift. Is that true? In what capacity?
I did her. I did the Speak Now tour CD and helped with the DVD for that. So I fixed and mixed the concert and created the CD, and then also helped with lining it up with what they were doing visually.
Is there anyone you
to work with? She's a terrific human being. Yeah, really lovely girl, very polite and thoughtful, and both Jan and I we really got on well with her.
Oh, I'm so glad. So, because seriously, I can't think of anyone you haven't worked with, from Bono to the spectrum of everyone, to Andrea Bocelli, right? Is there anyone you want to work with that you have left to choose from that you haven't worked with?
That I'd like to work with that I haven't worked with.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I mean, I sort of so love what I do that I'm into working with new people and old people. I mean, I don't know, there's so many things that I hear that come up and I go, "Oh man, that's amazing. I wish I could work with that." Yeah.
The other thing I've heard about you is you're a philanthropist.
Camilla Cambello. That's who I really want to work with.
Oh,
I think she's
great.
I think she's astounding. Yeah.
In regard to your philanthropy, you created the Music Counts Teacher of the Year. Is that right? And you founded Music Rising with U2's The Edge. And it's all to help musicians in New Orleans when they were impacted by Hurricane Katrina.
To start, I mean, Music Rising began as a response to Katrina and Rita, and we raised a bunch of money and replaced the instruments that were lost in the flood. So we replaced instruments for 2,700 professional musicians from the Gulf South and 60 churches and community centers in the same region. And then we put up $1 million at Tulane University to create a course of study in the music of the Gulf South, because sadly, it's not a matter of if, just when the water is going to reclaim the land. And so in anticipation of that, we didn't want that music to be lost. We didn't want the tradition to be lost. So we created this course of study with Tulane. And since then, we went on to be a sort of musical Red Cross for other natural disasters in the United States. This is specifically for the United States, and everything from Hurricane Andrew to, we just recently created Music Rising in Lahaina to deal with the fires.
Sadly, there'll be no shortage of natural disasters the way we're going.
So you're pretty right about that.
But I love that idea of the Music Red Cross.
Me too.
Saving something that, I mean, how many people really even thought of that? I think that's incredible.
I have a question for you, because you literally have done so much with so many. What do you want? What does this future of yours look like? What excites you? You strike me as still being the same person who gets very excited by great music, by talent. Is that true?
I'm excited by a lot of stuff. And I mean, music is one of the things that it's sort of my primary earning business. That's my primary job. But I'm also I'm a very active environmentalist, and am constantly working with different organizations up here in Canada, more so than in the United States, on this. And I'm also I'm a warrior for a free and unfettered press, because when and we know how beleaguered journalism is now in
Awful.
everywhere, and particularly where we live. So I'm on the board of the Canadian Journalism Foundation here, and I do what I can in the States. In the States, I'm on the board of the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation, which is about musical education in the schools throughout the United States, and we have Music Rising, and then there's just a couple of other things too. So I'm really, I feel like I was given a huge gift when Jack Richardson said, "You do it," and pushed me into a career I didn't even know existed. That was so exciting and fulfilling, challenging, and dangerous. It's a dangerous career if you're not glued down, and I wasn't for a while, as you know.
I do.
What would you say to our audience who members might be facing something like that, fear or danger or challenge, based on your experience? What would you say to them?
Those are many questions in one, and let's start with fear, because the greatest self-limiting attribute that anybody has is fear. It's fear of the unknown, fear of of people not accepting them, fear of being isolated, fear of making a mistake, and in every case uh, where fear leads, it almost always means that people don't, whatever it is that they're faced with at the moment, whatever move they should make, whatever decision they have to take. When fear leads, they don't do it. The great performers all have fear.
Of course.
Everyone who's a performer has performance anxiety. It goes with the territory.
You have a quote that I've heard that when people come to you, because this is based on what fear is and about how to start, and I love this when people say, "How do I break in?" And your answer is, you don't break in, break out.
You break out. Yeah, you break out.
It's so perfect.
What does that mean, to break out?
It means break out of whatever's limiting you. When you ask a question, that something like, "How do I break into this?" It means you're not there yet, and you haven't come to the point where you're getting where you want to go. You have to break out of whatever's holding you back.
So breaking in is the fear, the self-doubt, that kind of thing.
Well, no. No. When they say break in, they mean, how do I break into the business? How do I break into this? How do I break into that? Right? You don't break into anything. You just have to break out of whatever's holding you back from doing what you want to do.
And it can be any business.
In most cases, it can be absolutely anything. How do I break into the pros? I'm a really good tennis player. How do I break into the pros? Well, break out of being a really good tennis player, worried about breaking into the pros. Break out of that and just be not a really good tennis player, but an insanely great tennis player. And they'll find you.
One of my favorite things about you, and always has been, and I know life is a ride, right? But my favorite thing about you has always been, and still is, because I can see it, is you have the most extraordinary enthusiasm. You are excited by the life that you live. You're excited about what you do, and I love you for it.
So how can you not be? So I have a lecture. I swore once already on here. It's okay.
You're welcome. Go for it.
You're fine.
I have a lecture that I've done at some universities where, basically it's called "Fucking Amazing," and the point is that the life we live in, the world we live in right now, we, not everyone, we who are talking on this, podcast right now, our world is fucking amazing. There are some people for whom the world is hell, and it isn't fucking
Absolutely.
amazing, and this doesn't apply. But and I start by saying, how many people here went to bed hungry last night? And a couple of people go like that. I go, no, I don't mean you wanted another snack. Like really hungry. No hands go up. How many people here were dodging bullets on the way to this lecture? No hands go up. How many people here are afraid that while we're talking, a bomb is going to fall on our heads? No hands.
None of us.
And I just look at them all and I just go, isn't that fucking amazing?
You know what? It is fucking amazing.
You know about the world?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And
it's a reason to have.
And then I do this. I go, you want to see something really fucking amazing? Watch this. I just made it dark. Watch this. I just made it light. How fucking amazing is that?
Your effervescence, you're a born salesman.
What I want to say to them, and what I'd like to say to anybody that's still with us, that hasn't shut us off by now, is that everything around us, we live in a time of miracles and wonders, and we're surrounded by miracle. We are. There's so much. The fact that we have this technology, and you guys you're across the world, and we are talking and seeing each other. And when I was a kid, you would go to the Epcot Center at Disneyland to see the future, and they had a video phone, and we were all like, whoa, that's amazing, right? And everybody is, we're doing it now as though it was nothing, but it's a miracle.
You know what? That's a great takeaway for our audience.
It is
to have gratitude for what we do have, not what we don't have yet. And I think you're fucking amazing.
I think you're fucking amazing
that
too.
Message to us and our audience. We really appreciate your being.
I wish we had more time. Honestly, Bob, I love you. I loved you the day I met you. I still do. Your heart is so huge, and your talent is huger. Is that a word?
Thank you for being with us, Bob. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. My great pleasure. I hope it was
great
okay.
meeting you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye. Thank you.
He's fucking awesome.
Fucking awesome.
Hello. He is fucking awesome. You're fucking awesome. That was great.
That was so much fun.
What are you taking away from this?
That enthusiasm, exuberance, and passion are the trifecta that we need to live a rich, full life.
I'm taking away gratitude for what we do have.
I
Just
agree.
when he flipped the light on and off, for those of you who couldn't see this, that are listening, he got up and turned the light off and back on. And he said, that's fucking amazing. But we don't stop to think about that. So look for all the little things in your life that you take for granted and start to appreciate them. That's what we're going to do for the rest of the day. We appreciate your being here.
Come see us on our YouTube channel, please. We want you there, and thank you.
We'll see you on our next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.